Hello everybody, this is Rudra Pradhan here. Welcome to second unit of BMDA. We are in the process of discussing exploring data and analytics on spreadsheets, and in the first lectures we have discussed about the Excel details, about the data structure, data view and various menus and the operations in the Excel sheet. The thing is that since it is a data analytics course and we have to use lots of analytics tool to solve business related problems and to take management decisions. So, that is how in the first instance you have to understand data, then you have to report the data properly as per the requirement. So, that is how we are supposed to know some things like spreadsheets, where we have to collect the data, gather the data and then report as per the particular requirement. So, the moment you have to collect the data, so that need to be reported, and usually we report the data in the form of a tables, and that is why spreadsheets like Excels can help you lot to enter the data in a particular structures, because Excel is the representation like in a matrix format. So, there is a kind of column and row mix. So, as a result every data can be recorded in a kind of structured framework. So, this will help you lot to understand the data, visualize the data, and then you can get to know some of the insights in the data by the process of visualizations and the process of reporting the data in the Excel sheet. So, now once you enter the data and visualize properly and you get little bit insights, then it will help you lot to go for hardcore applications or the use of some of the business analytics tools as per the particular requirement. So, that is how in the last lectures we have discussed details, how you have to enter the data, how you have to understand the data and how you have to process as per the particular requirement. So, in these lectures we like to know a little bit more about this particular process, and as a result it will help you lot to solve some of the problems either through spreadsheet or through any kind of complex analytic tools. But in any kind of complex analytic tools, so the use of spreadsheet is a kind of mandatory requirement. Until unless you know in details or your hand is not very good in spreadsheet, then it is very difficult to process the data as per the particular business analytics tools. So, that is how here we have to see some of the kind of requirement. So, here the requirement is like this. So, we are in the process of this exploring data analytics on spreadsheet, and then we are in the second series of this particular unit, that is use of Excel functions, because Excel has lots of functions through which data can be further structured as per the particular requirement, because it is very useful for different very useful for making different kind of requirements for a particular analytics tools. So, here in the Excel functions we like to know various operations and Microsoft Excel basics and some of the demos and then some of the live operations. So, now what I have discussed earlier in the last lectures. So, how you have to enter the data and then we have to process as per the particular requirement. For instance, in the first end when you have a spreadsheet, means when you report the first end data into the Excel sheet, you will find means there may be possibility that the data by default is not in a structured format. There may be some of the missing observations and there may be some kind of qualitative structure, quantitative structures. So, technically it is not in a proper format, because if you are collecting some kind of secondary data, the persons or the guy who has collected earlier for his or for her requirement, and when you are using the same data through this particular spreadsheet, then your requirement may be different. So, as a result, it is the mandatory kind of things that you have to process the data as per actual requirement. So, that is how Excel can help you lot to solve this kind of problems. So, that is how here we have to see what are the operations are readily available. So, that you can understand the particular structure, and then you can analyze as per your requirement. So, now some of the basic operations are here. So, to find out the minimum of a particular series, maximum of a particular series, you can also have a kind of summations, then you can find out average, then you can also count how many kind of items are there, then you can also count subject to certain criteria. So, that means you have a plenty of options here. You can actually visualize the data, and you can in a position to get some kind of insights, so that this will help you lot to solve some of the problems, and then it will help you lot to pick up a particular techniques, business analytic techniques, so that this particular problem can be addressed in a more attractive way. So, that is how we are here to know some of the functions. Let me give you the particular hint here. So, how you can operate all these things. Let us say this is a Excel spreadsheets, and this is typically operational data, and you have actually suppliers informations in the first column, and then you have a second column order numbers, then third column item numbers, then item descriptions, then item cost, quantity, cost per orders, then average per month. So, all these things are actually there in the particular spreadsheet. By looking this spreadsheet, you will feel something different. That means by default it is actually in a systematic format. So, from this tables you can just guess how beauty the kind of Excel spreadsheet. So, that means by default it will put in the data in such a way that somebody can understand what is actually happening and how is this particular structures. All these things are very easily can be evaluated or easily can be recognized, and that is how the requirement of knowing the spreadsheet, and that to Excel spreadsheet. So, this by default will give you a very beautiful kind of structure, so that you can actually visualize without any operations or without any kind of analytics tool. Some basic insight you can actually check. And by the way, and some of the inside things which may not be actually directly visible, but with the help of some operations you can able to detect all these things. For instance, let us say these are all item cost. So, it will start, it is starting from actually 3, 1.1, 3.7, 1.1. That means the data is not actually same, the reporting are different. So, the difference is from supplier to supplier, and that is how the basic requirement of analytics. If the all the informations are same, then that is not actually the kind of a requirement of business analytics. So, you can use any kind of analytics tools when the inputs or entry to a particular means entry of data to a particular variable have some kind of variations, then you are in a position to find something insights out of it. If it is constant, then nothing to nothing to find out. So, that is how. So, basic requirement or basic understanding is that you must report the data, and you see actually how is the shape and structure of the data. I am very sure you can enter to this analytics world when you find there is a variations of data with respect to a particular variables. If not, then the analytics analytics cannot be applied altogether. So, that is how we are here to see the kind of structure, see the kind of operation you can do, and through the operation you can also get some kind of better insight, so that you can help the process and then solve the process, then get come to a particular conclusion where you can take better decisions. So here you see here some of the things I am supposed to highlight here, that is the Excel functions, and that too it is nothing but some kind of operations. So by default the functions are there, and you have to operate actually as per your requirement. Some of the important functions are finding out the minimum of the series, maximum of the series, sum of the series, then average, then counting. So count with the conditions, all these things are theirs actually. For instance, if you have a very big data and you have a plenty of information, it is mandatory that you should know the kind of range. So which is the difference between maximum and minimum, then you should know what is the sum. For instance, let us say there are thousands of suppliers, and they are supplying their products to a particular market, and then you are supposed to know who is the maximum contributors and who is the least contributors, and what is the total supply to this particular market, and what is the average supply to this particular market. And then again you like to know what is the clusters, particular cluster, that means supply with a particular amount. So that can be detected through this particular Excel function. For instance, count to if and count with different kind of conditions, right. So that is how the beauty of the Excel sheet. So this spreadsheet by default will give you some kind of exposure through which you can by default you understand something, and again by the Excel function or Excel operations you can also get some kind of further insights, so that you can understand the situations or understand the particular problem in a much better way. So that is how we are here, and some of the other Excel functions are there, but before that let me take you to a particular Excel sheet, and I will give you some kind of snapshot how these actually Excel functions are really work in a kind of problem. Okay, so let me go to this particular Excel sheet, and then I will show you the kind of requirement, right. So let us say let us go to this particular structure here. Okay, all right, this is what okay. So let me take this particular examples, and this particular example we have already discussed in the previous lectures. So highlighting the demand forecasting with price, and the same data we can use here. So that means technically, so this P stands for here actually price. Let me write here price, so that you can understand much better way. And this is actually price pictures, and then this is actually the demand pictures, and then so there is a variation. So what we have done in the earlier actually examples, so the particular equation is nothing but actually like this. It is a demand equation by default is nothing but equal nothing but like this, a minus b p, that is how the particular formula here. And here the idea is that this is a negatively this is negative relationship between price and quantity demand, and then with some predictive tool, predictive analytics tools. So we have to derive this particular functions, and that too through this past observations you are in a position to find out what is the parameter value a and b. So assuming that a and b are known to you, so that is how we have actually assumed here 20,000, and then this b is nothing but actually 10 here, and let it be here a capital A, so that this can consistent. And so here a is given and b is actually given 10, and with the help of this particular examples you can actually generalize this particular spreadsheet. Here just writing this particular equations, you are in a position to calculate the demand when the price is like this, then when price will change, then demand will be changing. So, that is why just we have actually write the formula here. So, this formula is written here, and so that is just just you connect with the A minus B P, that is the actually model demand models, and on the basis of demand models you have to just operate. Then when price is 80, then this is the kind of demand, and when price will changes 90, 100, 110, 120 and so on, then the model the demand kind of the demand requirement will be also changing. So, since it is actually the model is written here perfectly, so just you can actually scroll it, then the automatically this will be actually calculated. So, this is what we have already discussed in the last lecture. So, my job is here just to give you the some kind of Excel operations, that means just to know how other things you can actually explore. For instance, let us say demand forecasting is something one of the other objective, but here let us say price is the kind of variables. So, we like to know more about the price component, or again you can also like to know more something about demand. For instance, here there are how price are different options. So, now first of all you put here actually this is the column where we have to operate. Let us say this is I will put here actually equal to signs. The moment I am putting equal to sign means I have some kind of requirement here, right, and there is some objective here. So, the putting equal to sign means the Excel is ready, a spreadsheet is ready to give you some kind of insights or some kind of value as per your particular requirement. And now you should know actually what are the operations are there and what are the things you are supposed to know from this particular spreadsheets. Of course, this spreadsheet is a very small one, even if this is now 5 numbers, but it can be 50 numbers, it can be 5,000 numbers, or it can be 50,000 numbers, but the operation is more or less actually same. So, because that is how the beauty of the Excel sheet or Excel spreadsheet. So, once you understand the operations and you know how to operate, then whether it is a 5 observation, 50 observation, or 50,000 observation does not matter. So, it will operate properly and it will give you exactly as per your requirement. That means that is the insight which you need actually for a particular problem. For instance, whatever operation we have already highlighted, like to find out minimum of the series, maximum of the series, sum of the particular series, then average of this series, then count with numbers, count with the particular conditions. So, these are the there in fact there are many operations, but by default I am just highlighting some of the important operations through which all the analytics tools can be carried out. For instance, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, but these are the basic things you are supposed to know in each case, whether it is a descriptive analytics or whether it is a predictive analytics or whether it is a kind of prescriptive analytics. Now, so once the moment once you put here operations equal to, so by default it will be demanding that you need something. So, now what is your need that you have to specify, that is what the Excel functions or Excel operation is all about. So, now after putting equal to, so then you go to this column here. So, here there is lots of operations are there, starting from count, sum, average, if, hyperlink, maximum, sign. So, there are so many functions are there. Okay. By the way you can put here more functions also. So, that means if you go through here, you will find series of functions are there, starting from area to area, the kind of requirement to requirement, or so many things are there actually. Plenty of operations are there. So, that from this you just imagine that what is the beauty of this particular Excel spreadsheet. So, there are so many operations are there. So, this will help you lot to analyze something or to predict something, to visualize something, right. So, here so we will go one by one. So, as per a particular requirement, in the meantime I will just give you some snapshots about to few operations, so that you will get some kind of exposures. So, and you can understand what is the beauty of this particular spreadsheet, right. So, so I am not going details more about these ones, just once again I am putting equal to, then going to this operations. So, now the moment you will put here operations, let us count here there are lots of things are there, let us put max, right. So, if you put OK, then if the moment you put max signs or operations, so it will ask you actually like this is a number 1. So, since we have one series only, so now the series starts from here, this series starts from here, it is jth column and starting from 4th row to 8th row. So, that means technically, so for J4 to J8, so these are the available information, price informations, and at the moment you are putting max of this particular series, that means you are interested to know what is the maximum price from J4 to J8. So, that means the operation is by default here. So, you are not supposed to calculate actually, or you are not supposed to check. So, by default just put the operation, then by default you can get to know. And by the way, there is another option also in Excel sheet, just you put in a ordering ascending to descending or descending to ascending. By default you can get to know the maximum value of this particular series and minimum value of this particular series. But here without knowing the without doing this, you can still have the value as per your particular requirement. So, I have already putting the command maximum J4 to J8. Then if you put OK, then by default you will get the particular structures. You see here 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. In fact, in this series the ordering is actually from a particular orders, right. So, that is when the smallest one is already there in the top and the highest one is already in the bottom. So, that is why, so by default it is coming maximum is 120, right. So, again you change the operations, put again equal to sign, then you change your operations, then here we put sum max, and then you can put here actually minimum, right. You can write here actually some kind of maximum. Okay. So, then you can put here actually let us say minimum, right. Then you see here these are all actually various functions of these are all I hope you can visualize here. So, these are various operation, we have already operated maximum, then I will put here actually put let us say minimum, right. So, click here, then it will ask you series actually. So, you just indicate the series up to actually 120, then you just put close the loop, then put enters. By default it will give you some kind of indication about the 80. So, that means technically it gives the idea that within this particular series. So, Excel will help you to know what is the minimum one and what is the maximum one. So, so the minimum one function is there and maximum one function is there, just to give the command of minimum and highlight the a series starting and series ending. By default it will give you the indication of the minimum of the series and maximum of the series. In fact, suppose you want to know you do not like to use actually the entire series. So, you can actually have a breakup. For instance, here we have a see J4 to J8. So, let us assume that it is J400 to J800. So, you are interested to know J400 to J600. So, then you fix the range accordingly. So, then again Excel function by default will give you the minimum value and maximum value of that particular range only, right. So, that is how the beauty of this particular Excel spreadsheet and Excel functions, right. So, again, so you change the order here, put equal to sign, and again go to the menu, and let us say put a sign of sum. So, that means technically we have actually a price information from 80 observation that is available here from J4 to J8, and you are interested to know what is the sum of all these price. Of course, you may not require, but still if you like to know what is the total price, and then accordingly you can find out the average price, right. So, let us say what is the total price with this 4 different sorry 5 different situation, then you just put OK, then you will get actually 500. then again sum. So, then if you want to know price average, then again you put equal to, then you go to this particular drive, then you put average options, and then again, so it is the indication about the J4 to J8. Then again, so what will you do actually? So, you just put OK, you just put OK. So, then you will get average. So, that means again, so you have actually 5 different price pack, and you like to know what is the minimum of the particular series, maximum of that particular series, then and then what is the average price. So, that means you just calculate here, you just add all these 5 items and divide by 5, then that is nothing what called as average, and I am very sure you will get same value. So, that is why without actually calculating something, and Excel function or Excel spreadsheet by default will give you some kind of insights which can help you lot to get some kind of better insights. Okay. So, what I can say that Excel function has a kind of beauty to help you lot to get some kind of insights from the data with a particular variables, or with a particular problem as per your requirement, where you have to take a management decisions, right. So, now with this, then we will move to our other component. So, this is how we have actually discussed, and then I have already given you the idea actually how you have to go about this. So, similarly, you can calculate count to means how many numbers are there. So, by default it will give you count if something, let us say how many cases price is less than 200, or how many cases price greater than 200, like count, that is you have to operate with count if conditions, that is one of the Excel functions again, and with this you can actually calculate or calculate something as per your particular requirement. So, now I will give you another kind of examples. Excel has beautiful actually financial modules, and here one of the one classic example is project valuation kind of things. In the project valuation, you like to know the feasibility of a particular project, where there is a investment, and the investment will give you some kind of return over the time, and then there are lots of evaluation techniques are there, financial modeling techniques are there, that is otherwise called as a project evaluation techniques, and through which you can take a decision whether project can be can be feasible or cannot be feasible, or project can be undertaken or should not be undertaken. So, there are so many evaluation techniques are there, and like net present value criteria, that is what is called as a NPV, IRR, internal rate of returns, like so many other techniques are there. So, the idea is just to to know whether a particular project is a feasible one or not feasible one. So, we like to actually evaluate. This is actually you need judgment, or you need a decisions. This is again management problem, and you are supposed to find out a solutions whether to take this project, or you have to reject this project. And Excel spreadsheet has a kind of functionality through which you can also evaluate this particular project. Of course, you are supposed to know theory behind this particular technique, and you are supposed to understand the particular problem and understand the technique. Until unless understand the particular technique and the kind of requirement, you are not in a position to find out a particular solutions, or you are not in a position to take a decisions. That means technically what I like to say. So, the Excel spreadsheet has a kind of financial modules through which you can actually find out the feasibility of a particular project, but before that you should know all these things, so that you can actually apply the functions as per the particular requirement. For instance, in the net present value criteria, the particular requirement is actually you are supposed to know what is the component called as a discounting rate, that is what first component is here rate, and then so here actually, so this is what we are are supposed to know. Then this is a kind of requirement discounting rate, and then value 1 and value 2 are actually series of cash flows. So, that means the literary or the theoretical understanding of this problem is like this. When you put some kind of investment, then the investment will give you some kind of returns, that is called as actually cash flows. The value 1 value 2 is nothing but called as actually a return which you expect over the time. And since you are this is a kind of expected revenue or return over the time, so that may not be a actual. So, that is how, so that need to be actually discounted. So, that is how the particular criteria will help you to evaluate whether this particular project is feasible or not feasible with the help of initial investment, then the rate of discount and the cash flows generated over the time. So, the typical formula is like this. So, it is actually the net present value means the difference between the benefit and cost, and both the benefits and costs should be discounted over the time. And in most of the cases, if there is no additional cost, then the initial investment is treated as actually a particular cost or total cost. So, now what we are supposed to do, or the evaluation process is like this, that you have to just have the sum of expected revenue over the time and then minus initial investment. If the expected return over the time will exceed the initial investment, then by default the component NPV, that is net present value, will be positive, and the signal will be the project is a feasible one, and if not, then the project will be declared as not feasible one. So, that is how the financial kind of understanding or the project valuation understanding. Once you know the kind of understanding or theoretical kind of things, then Excel sheet will by default will give you some kind of exposure how you have to do the kind of things. So, that means in the Excel sheet your requirement is, so you have to put actually discounting rate and indicate the cash flows requirement, then by default it will give you some kind of snapshot about the feasibility of the project, right. So, now so I will give you some kind of structure here. So, this is how actually project project valuation technique all about, that is the net present value criteria. It is actually this is nothing but actually this is nothing but actually returns returns expected return over the time, and these are all cash flows over the time. It is a timeline altogether. Then CF actually stands for cash flows, and CF1 means returns after the end of the first year, CF2 stands for return after the end of the second year, and so on. And here the CF0 means it is nothing but called as actually initial investment. So, now what will it do actually, since it is the timelines and so different returns over the time. So, every return need to be discounted. Then what will you do, you have to aggregates, that is the nothing but sum of total expected return, and then minus initial investment, that is actually CF0 cash flows at the best period, right. So, as a result, so it will give you some kind of exposure about the particular requirement. Then accordingly you can get some kind of judgment. So, see here, this is a typical problem. So, the initial outlay is let us say 12,000, and after tax cash flows benefits are first year, second year and third year respectively, that is 5,000, 5,000 and 8,000, and we have kept actually discount rate actually at a 15%, right. So, with this informations, so your task is just to know whether the project is a feasible one or not feasible one. So, now NPV can be help you lot to take a decisions, and since it is actually mathematical formula to calculate, and then you have to report and then take a decision. So, Excel by default will give you such kind of decisions within few seconds only, right. So, because the operation is there, and that is how the beauty of the Excel functions. So, now So this is how the typical mathematical derivations through which you have to take a decision. Here you see here mathematically. So this is actually 3 years project altogether, and this is what initial cash flows, and this is what the initial cash flows, and then these are all actually total returns, and with the after discounting or putting the discount rate of discount or adjustment, that is nothing are actually called as a present value of future cash flows, and then this is initial investment. Then finally, we are getting some kind of positive value. So as per the kind of means so far as a decision making concerned, decision making is concerned. So we can declare that project is a feasible one if NPV is coming positive. If not, then declared as NPV the project is not feasible. Since it is coming actually positive, then that means the declaration is that project is the feasible one. So okay, so this is how the decision you have to take, and accordingly you can actually do this some kind of judgment. So the same structures which I have highlighted here with the help of Excel functions. So now see here, so in the Excel functions you have actually typical all these informations. For instance, so this is how actually this is actually initial investment, and this is what discounting rate, and these are all cash flows. It is a monthly cash flows. So we have actually 6 different cash flows, and then the initial investment, this is called as a CF0, this is CF1, CF2, CF3, CF4, CF5, CF6, and this is a discount rate 3%. Then you are supposed to know what is the actually the final decision, whether to undertake this project or whether you have to reject the projects. So in the Excel sheet, once you record all these things, this is what actually the final outcome NPV, which is coming actually positives. So now you can open the Excel sheet, enter this data, then you calculate as per the particular requirement. Let me give you here actually idea. So go to this Excel sheet, and then I have here the examples. Okay, so this is what the examples. So this is what actually initial cash flows, and here so this is what actually fixed cost, or it is not a fixed cost, actually initial investment you can call CF0, and this is discount rate 3%, and these are cash flows. So what I have done here, so I have here actually the kind of requirement. Okay, so this is what the final outcome. So what I have done here, so I have done the NPV calculations. So the NPV calculation is like this. So I can give you the particular exposures. So just put equal to, then you give actually n command NP, then by default you will get some kind of structure here. Just you double click there, then you will get the picture like this. So it will ask you to report the rate, then value 1 and value 2. So that means, so the kind of cash flows. So here the first entry is the rate of discount, which is nothing but actually 3. So it's a 3% means, so then you have to put actually 3 by 3%, and then you actually then you put actually the kind of the indication about the entry cash flows, then you close the loop, and just put the enter, then the value will be coming like this. So this is what actually it's coming actually positive component, and as a result, so this will give you some kind of snapshots here. So see here, so this is what actually the kind of net present value, and that too without any initial investment. So now if you put here minus initial investment, then that is nothing but actually 25,000, then you will get exactly this much of value. So that is what actually NPV. So that means the NPV is nothing but the benefit minus cost and discounted over the time, and since CF0 is initial investment, that is the only single amount in the cost side. So, that is the fixed amount to be deducted. So, as a result, so total sum of the revenue minus cost will give you the NPV. Since it is coming positive, then your decision is that project is a feasible one. So, once again I am highlighting that Excel has a beauty to solve such kind of problems, and it will take very few minutes to solve these problems without any extra calculation or without any kind of mathematics, right. So, this is how the kind of structure, and then accordingly, so this is what we have already highlighted, and similarly there are plenty of Excel functions through which you can actually solve some of the business related problems and can get some kind of insights out of it. Similarly, Excel has a lots of other kind of functions. If you put equal to and put AND option, OR option and if options, then with these operations you will get actually specific requirement, like just like you are putting equal to, like you putting minimum, maximum, sum, NPV. Similarly, put count with the conditions, and with the condition, or with the condition, if with the condition, all these things will be there. So, now with the kind of requirement, you just put the kind of functional command, automatically Excel will give you some kind of output, and that through this output you can take a management decision. So, this is another kind of snapshot which we have already discussed, and similarly this is if options, large set of data. So, as per your requirement. So, this is actually series of data. So, you have to declare how many are large, how many are small with the benchmark value of 10,000, then it will give you some kind of details about this particular problem. So, once again I am highlighting that Excel functions are very useful for solving some of the business related problem. These are all some of the advanced functions through which actually again some of the complex problems or complex requirement can be solved. V lookup, H lookup, index match, all these things are there. Again similarly same function, you have to go to the Excel sheet, you must have a data, then you put equal to signs, and then start giving the command or operate after giving input to this particular requirement, then automatically Excel will give you some kind of value which will help you to take some kind of management decision. So, that means technically what I will say that it has a lots of functions. So, through which Excel spreadsheet will help you a lot to solve some of the business requirements, right. So, these are all VLOOKUP structures, and say similarly match requirement, then index, sum, all these things are there. Just the idea is actually you must have a informations and put equal to signs and give the connection about a particular operation. After putting the particular operation, automatically it will give you the exact the particular requirement or the value, so that you can get some kind of insights as per your requirement, and then solve as per your need. So, this is what about the spreadsheet, all spreadsheets in Excel sheet all about, and that is for your business analytics requirement, right. So, these are all various other kind of so, we will in the later stage we will get to know all these advanced kind of use in the Excel sheet, and that too once you know the basics and acquainted with the basic in Excel sheet. So, this will help you a lot to know the advanced kind of use and advanced requirement, and that will help you a lot again to solve some of the business decision problems. Thank you very much, and have a nice time.